Hey, and welcome back. We have something different for you today. It's a Hasbro sponsored review. They sent us a bunch of their upcoming NERF guns that should be out on shelves this spring. Some different ones from the Hyper series. I've never used anything that wasn't a dart before. And some of the, I guess, the role-play ones, we'll call them. This one's based on the upcoming Dungeons & Dragons. And one of these newer NERF Easy Play series, which are the Elite series for kids. So why don't we check them all out? We'll start with this NERF Easy, I don't want to call it Easy series, but the Elite Junior Explorer. You can see here in the box, not a whole lot really going on in terms of depth. I mean, the design is pretty interesting. It still has a lot of futuristic elements to it. But the whole point of this is that it's easy to draw. Now, these NERF blasters for kids are kind of difficult when they try to use the slide or the primer or whatever you want to call it to engage the mechanism to fire the darts. It requires a lot of pressure for a kid to pull back on that. It's not easy. I've seen it. Anywhere from like a 5 to an 8-year-old will still struggle with it and require a parent to pull back on the primer. But that is not the case with these. These pull back really easily. As you can see, I just opened this before, but the primer just takes like no pressure at all in order to pull back. And these fire basically on a round robin cylinder here where they just kind of each one, it will just keep going around every time you pull back and fire. So I got a little video where I'll show you guys here next where we're testing it out. What I want to do with these is test out ranges. Now, NERF used to put like how far they shoot on the guns, but they don't. I guess they don't do that anymore. I don't see that on any of the boxes. And it was kind of weird because, not weird, but it just never really hit that distance where they'd be like 75 feet, 125 feet. And like, sure, you could shoot it that far maybe, but the accuracy is terrible, or it just won't make it that far sometimes. So what I wanted to do is test these in a range of indoor distances in order to show you guys the accuracy between 10 and 20 feet, which I think 20 feet for the most part indoors is pretty far to be shooting. And most kids won't be that far apart when you're engaging with somebody, or most adults won't try to shoot from 20 feet, which is almost 2 rooms away in most houses. So we'll see how these things hold up. So let's take a look at this NERF Junior Elite Explorer first. Okay, so we're doing something new since this is NERF. I can't just show you the product. I need to show you it in action. So for the purpose of this, I set up a little shooting range. I'm about 6'1". My center mass would be around 5 feet. I got this Stormtrooper Sentry here from the Jack Specific collection. He's over 4 feet tall. Had to prop him up a little bit. He's still a little bit short for me, but we're going to try to use center mass here in order to showcase this first gun here. So we're starting off with the NERF Junior Explorer. And I'm basically just going to use the iron sights on this thing to take aim. Starting at 10 feet here. And you can see that pullback was really easy, which it's for kids, so it's kind of adjusted. One of the biggest catch-ups of NERF guns is that kids really struggle with pulling back on the to load the gun or to get it to fire. So they have to usually bring it up to an adult to get them to do it. So this was really easy. It didn't take a lot of force in order to pull this back. So using the iron sights they give you on the gun, I'm just going to aim this at 7 up at the center mass here from just 10 feet. We'll see what kind of result we get. So that hit exactly where I was aiming, which is good. So I'm going to pull back again. Now I'm expecting a little variation because this is firing from 4 different receptacles here instead of just 1. So it might be off a little bit, so you'd have to adjust for that. But so far, this is going exactly center mass. That one fell a little bit short, and that was probably the bottom barrel. So at 10 feet, this gun's performing as you expect. So why don't we back it up to 15 and see what happens there. All right, so I'm backing it up to 15 feet now. And believe it or not, 5 feet makes a huge difference in the world of NERF, particularly with the children's guns like this. It's probably going to have a major effect on the ballistics. So let's check out how these darts shoot at this distance. So again, aiming center mass with the iron sights. And I'm hitting down at his ankles at this point. So you can see clearly that the 5 feet made a big difference in terms of the accuracy. Although the second round, this one was shooting out of the side here. That one hit him square where I was aiming. So it could just be depending on the essentially what chamber you're firing out of. But Yeah, this was 50% of the rounds ended up going where they were roughly intended to. So at 15 feet, we're still shooting somewhat accurate, which is surprising given that this is sort of aimed at children, and they're probably not going to be very far away from each other. But why don't we take it back to 20 and see what happens there? Okay, so we're taking it to 20 feet. Now, 20 feet is probably further than I would engage with somebody in an indoor setting at least. And 20 feet is way further than I would expect a child blaster to work. A great thing about this, if you notice, it takes like less than a pound to pull this back, where the slide on any other weapon, it takes much more. Most kids can't do it. So we're just going to try aiming straight down the sights. Now, you could play around with the ballistics and I could angle it up to try to hit the target, but we want to see the effective range on just using the iron sights on these weapons. So aiming straight down the sight. This one, you could see it went right past the 10-foot mark I have there, but it's not getting anywhere near our target. That one is hitting the base, so I would be hitting somebody in the foot if they were my height. No, nowhere near. And that one kind of hit him in the wrist there. So you can see at 20 feet, you got some effectiveness, but I would argue the maximum effective range of this would be about 15 feet for hitting that target about 50% of the time and hitting your target 100% of the time in the 10-foot area. So pretty good for a kid blaster, still effective at 20 feet, hitting somewhat in the region there with some of the darts. So I'm sure if you played around with it, you would kind of figure out the sweet spot at this range. But 15 feet you're looking at for this, which is still pretty impressive and really, really easy again to able to engage it. It's just a quick, light pull. I could do it with my pinky if I wanted to. I'm sure a kid could pull this off, no problem. So next up we have this roleplay accessory, which is a Dungeons and Dragons themed blaster. You see a lot of licenses with NERF. There's Fortnite, I believe there's Roblox, there's Minecraft. So there's all these different blasters that incorporate roleplay elements from the mediums they're based on. Mostly seen video games, but this is a movie one. So a little divergence. So taking a look at the box here, you can see this dragon based on the upcoming movie. It's a crossbow design, but it also has this tail that wraps around the user. So sort of giving you off that essence of roleplay that you have some kind of creature that's wrapped around your arm. And basically he's also breathing fire, or in this instance, darts, I guess. So it's kind of cool how they work that into the play element, that it's functional and not just purely aesthetic. So taking a look at the inside here, I just kind of popped him out. Like I said, he's got that curly tail that you could wrap around your arm and put him in here. But he also has the dart storage on the wings. Although you see as you fire this, they kind of vibrate off and fall. I've had that happen a lot, so it's not like the best design here. They don't really cling in. It would have been better if you had the kind of hole slots that you push them into instead of this more loosely dangling darts here. But like the other one, the primer here is a little bit different. You're just pulling back on the string to get it to engage, and then you're there. See, the darts are falling off, and then you fire. Just like a lot of great detail, like I said on this one too. You can see here with the little horn sticking out. These are not just on and painted. These are separate parts that they worked into the dragon as well. You can see here on the close-ups that there's a lot of great detail on the mouth, on the eyes, on the wings. So like I said, it's a role play design, so it's more than just the firing mechanism. They have a lot that went into this second guy here. So again, I want to show you trying him out to see how he fires. And I haven't used any roleplay blasters, and I always thought just by looking at them, they sacrifice sort of your effectiveness in terms of range and accuracy for the aesthetic. So why don't we see how this guy holds up in that same shooting range I got for 5 to 20 feet. Well, I know this is a gimmick blaster, but sometimes they surprise you and they work really well. This tail here can curl around your arm if you wanted to, so to give you the impression that you're holding a pet dragon here. But this is a crossbow. It's going to load a little bit differently than the other guns. There's no slide to pull back here. You're just pulling the string back and you're engaging it in that hook there at the bottom. And then you're taking one of these darts where they have this convenient dart storage on the wings, and you're popping a dart in here. And we'll see how we do here. So at 10 feet, so their iron sights are a little different on this. You're going to be using the rail here. So at 10 feet, we'll see what we're doing here. Oh, That was actually pretty impressive. A lot of power there on this thing. Didn't hit my target exactly, but good force. We'll try one more time here. And just a little correction to the left. There we go. So pretty good at 10 feet. I would say that was a pretty powerful projectile. It would probably leave a mark at this point. So let's take it back to 15 and see how this thing fares. All right, taking our dragon to the next level here. So I'm going to have it wrapped around my arm again. That's not going to change the effectiveness. It's just the cool factor at this point. So so far a gun that was kind of designed for aesthetics, working pretty well as a Nerf gun. So again, using that crossbow system to aim, I'm going to take it center mass. And I missed, the sights were a little off, but still a lot of velocity, still a lot of force there. So it's definitely clearing 15 feet, no problem. I'm going to make a little adjustment here in my aim. And there we go. So 15 feet, still really effective, not just aesthetically pleasing. It works pretty well as a blaster as well. So let's take it back to 20 and see how we do there. Again, 20 feet puts us at maximum distance. We have to stand outside the room to make this work. Indoors, this is pretty far to be shooting at targets, but I want to see how effective they are, as they're not quite advertised at their range. So taking just a center mass aim again. Boom, right in the head. I mean, that was just perfect. No loss of accuracy or power at this point. I mean, I could imagine this thing clearly going another 10, maybe even 15 feet without losing any accuracy. So pretty awesome. Despite, designed for the aesthetics, this is a very competent and capable Nerf blaster as well. So pretty cool, looks pretty cool. And you got that additional grip where you could wear it around your arm with the tail. So functional and aesthetically pleasing. So we're going to end with the Hyper series here. Never used the Hyper series. I grew up with darts. Nerf has always been darts for me. I've seen darts get bigger and then smaller and then odd shaped size and all sorts of things. But then they started doing these little balls for the Hyper series. So taking a look at the box here, you can see first, you notice that this one includes eyewear. These little balls, I would imagine, are a lot easier to hit people in the eye with than the darts. They're probably going to travel at a higher velocity. So it's probably going to sting a little bit, almost equivalent to like an airsoft or a paintball style firing mechanism. You can see on the box here they have this little pop open hopper for reloading with quick canisters if you get them. But immediately I noticed they have a track system, which I missed from the Nerf Elite series, where you could add sights, or you could add ammo holders, or you could add other little gimmicks to it. So that's always fun that they brought it back. But looking at what's inside the box, which I already cracked open, of course you have that eyewear I mentioned, which is good to have, and it should fit most people. If it's me, I'm an adult. I think I have a big head, so it should be able to fit most people. So the gun here, you can see immediately I noticed it has a way to clear the barrel if something gets stuck, which I've seen these on several Nerf blasters. It was really good on the Dart Tag series because those things get jammed all the time. So it's on both sides here. There's a reset switch here, I think, for any clog up when you're priming the mechanism. And there's a safety switch on the side, which having a safety switch is good when this thing could really put an eye out, so to keep the trigger from being fired. The mechanism on this one's a little different. You're going to pull it back and push it in to prime it, not just pull it back and fire. So I have an indicator on the side here, and I'll show you closer later on. But you can see the design on this is nothing spectacular. It's really bright, which is, in this case, it's good. You want to be able to find this thing, particularly the ammo. So the bright yellow on the ammo, it's good if you're outside. I imagine if you have tall grass, though, you're not going to find it. But fortunately, you can buy a lot of these things. I don't think it's good, though, to keep them out there for animals to eat. So hopefully you're in an area where you can clean them up after you're playing. But basically, when you're reloading this thing, you just push the hopper button and they pop open. Now, I always thought these were foam, just because I looked at them on the shelves and I didn't know what they were, but they're actually like this little rubber, squishy little rubber. I imagine they'd still really, really hurt. If you were to get pelted with one of these within a 10 to 20 foot radius, they'd probably hurt. So again, I want to take this guy for a test run and see how he performs in our little shooting range demonstration from 5 to 20 feet. If you're playing with this indoors, I think first of all, it's probably going to bounce around a lot because they're rubber balls and you're firing them at a high velocity. If you're playing with them outdoors, you're probably going to get some good distance, but I don't know how the wind is going to take them. I don't have a way to fire this outside and measure it with the wind, but considering they're so light, I would expect that your accuracy would wane a lot over a distance greater than 20 feet outdoors. But let's take them for a spin and see how this guy fares. Now, the way this primes is different than other units where you just pull the slide back and fire. So here you're going to pull it back to prime it. You're going to push it forward, and you see the little light here went to yellow from, I think it was white or black. So now it's ready to fire. So I'm going to take, using the iron sights again, aiming center here. Boom, wow, that was pretty intense. The round bounced off the back wall here, went forward again, but dead on. I mean, this thing hit exactly where I intended to. So it's primed and ready to go. And again, exactly where I intended to. So this has a lot of force, and then you can see it went back to gray. So a lot of force on this one, much more so than the other blasters. And I imagine that this will fire for quite a range. So we'll keep going and see its accuracy at the 15-foot mark. 15 feet, I'm not expecting any surprises with this because it's just how well it worked at 10. So again, we're going from gray to yellow on that light, meaning we're good to go. We're going to take it down our iron sights. Really effective. I mean, that was within like a half an inch of where I was aiming. So no loss of accuracy at all, just moving back 5 feet. No loss of velocity or firepower as well. This thing is pretty effective. I can see why they want you to wear eyeglasses because you could easily take an eye out with it. So let's take it back to 20. Again, this is a beast of a weapon. I anticipate clearly hitting the target with no loss of accuracy or force at 20 feet. So we'll see here. Yep, wow, that thing ricocheted 20 feet across the room just as hard as I hit it with. So this is clearly a very capable blaster. This is pretty amazing. I'm kind of disappointed in myself that I haven't used these before. The velocity they're hitting. I know NERF doesn't, they don't put anything on the box anymore indicating how far these shoot, but at this rate, I mean, I could clearly see 80 feet or more without a major loss of effectiveness. It's just so much velocity on it. It could shoot across a house, no problem. Outdoors, other than losing the ammo, which it's bright yellow, so in grass it should still show up pretty easily as long as that grass is cut. Pretty effective weapon. So yeah, quite amazing, quite surprising. And I can see why they have a safety on it because you do not want to accidentally fire this thing. It will probably hurt. I don't want to do a welt test, but I don't think it hurt as much as a paintball. But it is this with this velocity at a close range of 20 feet or less, it's really going to hurt. So probably best outdoors, a lot of distance, and wearing some additional thick clothing or something on top of those eyeglasses. So that one different than expected. As you saw with the Explorer here, surprisingly accurate up to 15 feet, which I did not expect that in the Junior Edition line. That was really impressive for a kid's blaster aimed at children, using the iron sights to be able to hit that target that well up to 15 feet, plus this really light priming mechanism. I mean, this is amazing. I mean, even as a adult or a bigger kid, if you had this, just to be able to load this, if you had a catch on your arm or something like that, because it's that easy, that would be awesome to have this as a sidearm if you're playing a NERF battle. So very functional in that respect too. And up to 15 feet, I think that's a pretty cool functionality and effective range on this thing. The crossbow clearly surprised me how accurate this thing was. I did not think it would have that functionality up to that distance. It was still pretty powerful, still pretty accurate. Probably could have went much further and still would have been pretty accurate as well. The only issue I had was the ammo, as you saw, kept falling off every time we fired it, which was kind of annoying, but it happens. So I don't know if there's a way to wedge something in there to get it to stick in there, but it's more about the blaster than it is about the functionality of the darts, although I always appreciate being able to have the ammo for a quick reload nearby. But this tail thing was kind of fun to have this flexible tail on there as well, so recommend it. But this was pretty cool, I gotta say. Whether or not you're a Dungeons & Dragons fan, to have a dragon that shoots darts on your arm is still pretty cool. So that's a pretty unexpected function of this roleplay blaster. I'll have to check out more roleplay blasters in the future because they work a lot better than I thought they would. And then last but not least, this Hyper series was scary. I mean, it's scary how accurate it is. It's scary how powerful it is. It's pretty amazing. If I were a kid and we were still doing Nerf competitions or Nerf battles in my block, this thing would have dominated, and it also probably would have put out a whole bunch of eyes. So definitely go with the recommended eyewear. Maybe wear an extra thick shirt, because I imagine you get hit with one of these, it's going to sting a little if you're 20 feet or less. So very effective blaster, very cool sort of ammo system. Would recommend getting that additional hopper that goes on the slide in order to do that quick reload, because otherwise it's going to take you a while to pick them up and put them in here. But it can hold up to 40. They give you 30 with the blaster, so you can see there's plenty of room at the top here. So you can hold up to 40 rounds, which is pretty good. I haven't had a Nerf blaster that held more than 40 rounds before. Most of them had like 16, 25 for the chain gun, if you were to have them in the ammunition belt. I couldn't think of that at the time, but that was the most I've ever had in a Nerf blaster before, and I'm sure there's modern ones that have like 30 or something like that, but this is pretty good to be able to have 40 rounds in there and not have to worry about having to reload it every so often. So great. And this is just the handgun version. I know they have bigger versions, but these are all what are upcoming. So they should be on shelves this spring. So you should be able to get them anywhere: Walmart, Target, Amazon, wherever they sell Nerf guns, essentially. So they'll be easy to acquire. We'll have some links on the video here and on the site for where you guys can pick these up. But yeah, pretty surprising. This was a nice surprise from Hasbro to get this assortment of blasters. Had a fun time here. You know, go for setting up your own shooting gallery. If you like that Stormtrooper, I'm sorry they don't sell them anymore. They were from Jack Pacific. This was back around, I think, a little after 2015 that they came out. So it was just after Force Awakens. So I think it was 2016 or 2017 they were selling these. At one point, they didn't do so well, so they were selling them out for like 30 bucks a piece, maybe a little less than that. So I picked up a bunch of them. So they're kind of cool to have around. They're like little room sentries, but I digress. You could probably pick them up on the internet for about 100 bucks probably, but they're fun little targets if you need something that's a pretty large size. Other than that, that's all we have for today's segment. Of course, we're going to have a lot more coming up, so please like, subscribe, and follow for more reviews. Till then, we will see you guys next time.